G'day and welcome back to another Dbz Dokkan battle video. In this video we're going to be taking a look at INT Ss4 Goku, essentially getting a pretty good feel for just how good INT Ss4 Goku is, and basically getting a pretty nice idea of how he does in the Shadow Dragons event against Syn Shenron. So obviously I think for those of you who've maybe watched the reviews, you should understand that Goku's pretty good. Try them out in a couple red zones. His weakest moment is right before he attacks. Basically there's like a very brief window whereby he can take a considerable amount of damage. But if you get through that window, then he does basically become uber tanky. Like he becomes super duper tanky. And it's really only super attacks right now at least that he struggles with quite convincingly. So Goku overall pretty good. His leader skill also pretty good. Some really nice coverage with full power, kind of making up for like the smaller GT heroes category. And pure Saiyans and hybrid Saiyans is a nice catchment. So I think overall the leader skill is really good. I think it gives him a high level team. I think he as a unit is really good. His standby skill is really good. Great defensively, boosts the rest of the team defensively. If you're running double INT Gokus though, I would suggest running them in separate rotations. Goku likes being the first slot unit. I know it sounds really weird, but he really likes being in that first slot unit, especially when you're considering super attacks. Like I said, if you can get through that kind of just little phase before he attacks, he's super duper tanky and he can tank supers quite well. The problem is that alternatively him in the second slot, at least at 55%, not the craziest. Tanks okay. I mean, you'll see him here in a couple clips, like tanking fine, tanking single digits maybe, a little bit of chip damage. But really the super attacks give him a huge problem. Obviously the Syn Shenron event, the final phase is Syn is physical, which is obviously something that you need to kind of like work through, understand that they have type advantage. It is obviously a problem for Goku, but for me, I think Goku does great regardless. I think it's just that there's this little kind of window where running him as the first slot unit, he can take damage, and then I think running him as a first slot is definitely more enticing than running him as a second slot. It's not to say that you have to, because you can very easily run him alongside other units and other lead skills and things like that, but I think for me, there's definitely this kind of window whereby, I would say he can be a little bit caught off guard. But I think also if you link level and gear, which I haven't done to my 55% unit, I do think he tanks relatively well. I do think he has like a really good window of opening, and so I don't want to say that he can't do it. I just think that the second slot position isn't as ideal as running him first slot. I think first slot, having two of them, also you can run double standby skills, not at the same time, but consequently, is pretty good. And then also means that when they do transform, you've got double healing, you've got both of them looking really, really tasty. And I think, overall, it's probably where I'd lie. It's probably where I'd say, okay, I think that's where the team is looking really, really good. But again, to each their own. Obviously, it's entirely up to you, but for me, I think running the double SS4s and running them first slot is way more successful a pitch than running them, as first and second slot. Of course, maybe you've got two rainbow versions or you've got dupes or something. I think then it's a different story. But for me, overall, I'd probably have to say that taking a look at it, I find that running separate rotations is best policy, at least ultimately at the end of the day. Of course, when you look at things, it's going to depend a lot on how you build your team and the unit you place in, and obviously how your rotations pan out and everything. But I think ideally for me, the main goal would be to bring Goku into position where he does his best, and I think that's first slot. Of course, it is what it is, but I like to show everything. I think there's plenty of decent second slot units to link up with Goku, not to mention the GT Ss4's units, also pretty good from that aspect, and also the 8th anniversary Spirit Bomb duo is also pretty good. So he does have, you know, a list of units that I would say are pretty appropriate or acceptable to run alongside him. Of course, you know, you might find that otherwise, it's going to depend on you. But I think he's pretty acceptable to run as a first slot. I think that's his best position. Of course, if you're not running two of them, it's pretty easy to make it work. If you are running two of them, then you need to build around the fact that you probably want both of them in that number one position. But yeah, I'd say this, he, you know, doesn't have many issues with a lot of events, personally speaking. I think he's just in a very good spot. As a unit, I think he does great. I think he does a good job. And yeah, I think for me overall, he's pretty good, at least from my side. I don't have any distinct issues with him, so I'm honestly more than fine with him as a unit. But yeah, that's basically going to be it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like, and yeah, otherwise I'll see you in the next one. Bye.